I couldn't start this video any other way this week other than to mention that WWE and NXT decided to bring back the Great American Bash on Canada Day. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your NXT Great American Bash Night 1 review on Canada Day. Anyways, obviously I have to start it out. I don't know what people are celebrating in the rest of the world because I'm just not that up on it. But to my fellow Canucks here in Canada, happy Canada Day. I'm literally recording this on the 1st, which is Canada Day, if you don't know. To my friends in the States that are going to be celebrating in a couple of days, happy 4th of July to you guys as well. But before that, quick programming note, right after SmackDown this coming Friday, there is a special video coming out, and you guys know me. Occasionally I like to do a little bit of fantasy booking here and there, and you guys also know me. I'm getting pretty damn sick of Sasha Banks and Bayley. So what I did was a little bit of fantasy booking. It's only about a half hour long, so it's not my typical like droning on and on and on and on and on, but it is my fantasy booking that lets you know how the disintegration of Sasha Banks and Bayley leads WWE to hosting an Evolution 2 pay-per-view. So please come join me for that. It goes live right after SmackDown this coming Friday. What you will notice on the other side of the coin is that there was no Flicks Fix this past Tuesday, and there's a very simple reason for that. That very simple reason is your buddy, your pal Spaz, is an actual idiot. Because I did sit down and watch Alien 3. Kristen did sit down and watch Alien 3, and I think I owe her something now. We did sit down and talk about it in a recording for the podcast for about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes or so. We didn't think very much of the movie. I'll let you in on that little behind-the-scenes note. I somehow deleted the raw audio file from my desktop because I'm a moron. And after speaking to Kristen, who trudged through the movie with me once, we're not going to do that again. We do have some other stuff coming up soon. We have a fan casting coming up soon related to Marvel. That's all I'll tell you right now. We do have another series coming along consisting sort of centering around the Joker, which is going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys join us for that. But there will be no, we won't be closing the loop on the Alien trilogy, because as I forgot, Alien 3 is a bit shit. I went back and I hadn't watched it in about 10 years, and it's really bad. And there's some stuff in that movie that in the 2020 scope would be really, really problematic. And I'm not all of a sudden turning SJW. It's just not a conversation that I want to have again. So we're not doing that, but I do thank you guys for joining us for the Flicks Fix series. Because I'm out of old stuff that I'm re-uploading, the re-uploaded re-sound touched podcasts from days gone by that I was re-sharing with you guys. I don't have any of those anymore. So we are drifting very quickly into an era where Flicks Fix is only going to be every 2 weeks, possibly every 3 weeks, depending on scheduling and whatnot. And when movies do come back into the theaters, that's going to throw things into a loop all over again. We will still mix a bit of the old with a bit of the new, but the way the world is right now is going to become a factor eventually. So no Flicks Fix this week. We should have one up either next week or the week after. Please join us this Friday for the Sasha Banks and Bayley fan booking thing that I did that'll probably make a lot of people angry. Now let's get on to the Great Canadian Bash, as I realize that my notes are over there. Give me 1 second, guys. Doomy Clipboard of Doom was all the way over there. For those of you listening in audio, please just be patient and know that I was wheeling around my room for a second. We start off with a video package for the Great American Bash and what it's looked like in the past and all that sort of thing and how it's going to affect tonight. We get a quick rundown of the matches that are happening tonight, and we carry on. We get into the arena. We have, it's very small, but we have actual pyro on the rampway, which is nice. Made things stick out, made them a little unique. They darkened down the fake crowd like they do at a takeover, which was a little bit different. Obviously, the red, white, and blue color aesthetic of the Great American Bash was there, and they had a couple of American cars. or I guess they're American cars. I don't know. I don't know anything about cars. On the rampway as part of the entrance with the NXT Great American Bash logo. I will say, now I'm going to get down to the minutia for a second. The NXT Great American Bash logo is a pretty cool logo, all things considered. Now, consider that the last NXT logo that we had to deal with or to look at was the In Your House logo, which was purposely a bit goofy, a bit colorful, and all that sort of thing. But it was good. It wasn't just like they cut and pasted it from one of the old Great American Bash pay-per-views, which they very, very definitely could have done. I will say, what I said on Twitter, it is a little disarming to look at the ring at first because you get used to certain things at certain times. You get used to the fact that NXT is the only brand that has a black ring canvas, and obviously in your mind you equate that with the yellow ropes. This is piddly shit, and if you want to skip this, that's fine. And you get used to the brighter colors and the more bombastic visual aesthetic with something like the Great American Bash, because it's not only associated with bright colors and pyro, but it's also associated with main roster, which is a white mat. So I might be the only one on the planet to mention this, but the red, white, and blue rope setup around the ring with the black NXT canvas looked so different, and it was so jarring. I was noticing it and looking at it for about the first minute of the first match, which is bad because the first match was great. We're going to get to that in a second. But everything was red, white, and blue, except they still had the press-on decals on the corner posts of the ring. So you had everything red, white, and blue. You still had the black canvas, which was odd on its own, and then you had these little bits of yellow in the corners. So I like looking at things. I like that they made the stage a little bit different. I like that they lowered the lights on the crowd to give it the same feel that we get at a takeover, because that's what they do in the big arenas, is they lower the lights on the crowd, they up the lights in the ring, to give it more of a, I hate to say it because it's part of WWE verbiage, but it does give everything more of a big fight feel. It's like when they have the actual NXT spotlight that hits the ring when they're announcing title matches, etc. But we have our first match of the night, which is an elimination match. Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae for the #1 contendership to the Women's Championship. Now, the Women's Championship is not on the line in tonight's main events against Trasha Skanks from the main roster. So this was closer to a title match than the main event was. And I like Io Shirai, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot more that I like in this match, and we will go on. We immediately pointed out on commentary that there is no Raquel Gonzalez because William Regal, I guess he's stuck in the UK, that's why he's been doing everything over tablet, which is fine, which is why there's one match that we're getting next week that I don't think has been announced yet officially, but I'm going to assume that it's happening, and we'll get there when we get there. Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, no Raquel Gonzalez at ringside because all outside interference has been barred from ringside. Now, how you do that in a Fatal 4 match that has no disqualifications, I'm not sure, but let's just go with it. Candice bails to start the match. Mia and Tegan corner Kai in the corner because my writing makes sense. Nox and Yim start. They have a headlock and a takeover by Yim. Candice tosses Yim out. Shots to Kai by Nox. Forearms to everybody by Kai. This is a pile of people match. My notes are not going to do it justice. You should go back and watch it, is what I'm going to say. Springboard crossbody by LeRae on Nox onto the floor. Super kick by Kai into Nox. Helluva kick by Yim into the corner. Yim slams Kai onto LeRae. They protect your neck by Mia Yim. And Candice LeRae is eliminated. Candice LeRae is out of the match, which bums me out because I kind of wanted her to win. There's other people that I like in this match, as you guys know. And if you listen to the quote-unquote experts, it had to be a heel to win this because the champion is a babyface. Now, I'm going to pull myself out of here for a second. Io Shirai and Mia Yim, Io Shirai and Asuka on Raw have both just randomly become babyfaces. They just randomly started putting them against bad guys, randomly just started referring to them in glowing thing. Asuka was a heel until Becky left to go be baby making with Seth. Fine, congratulations to her. She got handed the belt and immediately became a babyface, I think, because she was taking Becky's place. That's sort of okay. And I like Io Shirai. Io Shirai is so different, and there's something so surreal about her that she can be face or heel. I don't even really care. But I'm looking back at it, and maybe you guys have a different point of view than me. When did Io Shirai become babyface again, other than just because we love her? So the experts out there, and what culture, I'm looking at you, that said, well, Io Shirai's a babyface, so it has to be a heel that wins this, because you have to have a heel versus face, which you don't. Really, really interesting, because there goes LeRae right off the bat. Kai stomps on Yim in the corner, Snapmare by Nox, Indian Deathlock by Kai, Dragon Sleeper by Yim, Cannonballs by Yim and Nox into Kai, which is kind of weird because you've got two babyfaces double teaming the heel, which is not exactly a babyface thing to do, but whatever. Left jab by Yim was a really stiff shot in a whole match full of a lot of really interesting, like, strikes and so forth. The one left jab by Yim just sort of made you sit up and take notice for a second. That was cool. Bicycle kick by Kai, hip toss driver combination by Kai, full Nelson suplex by Yim, suicide dive and suicide Thez press by Yim on Nox, proper suicide dive by on Kai by Yim, code blue on Kai, soul food on Yim. Soul food on by Yim on Nox. I can speak, I swear. Quick pin by Kai, and Mia Yim is also out. So now my heart is broken because, you know, on the one hand, I like the heel turn of Candice LeRae. She's gone. Mia Yim, I feel like I'm on an island at this point defending Mia Yim, but I still think Mia Yim's a lot of fun. But in that same moment, I realized that the last two women left are the ones that have the longest standing rivalry, which is Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. Immediately you think back to what was it, Portland, when they had the street fight that wasn't even for anything, and some could argue that that match stole the night as far as just being better than what it was expected to be. Now, the only thing that's left out of this is the fact that Gonzalez wasn't there and Shotzi Blackheart wasn't there, because they've both been drawn into this. This could have been an elimination six-pack challenge, and this could have been the first hour of the show, realistically speaking, but beggars can't be choosers, and for this to get down to Nox and Kai did have some element of poetic justice to it, did it not? Scissor kick by Kai, a neck vice with a posted knee by Kai. Kai turns it into a grounded sleeper. She's got her in the neck vice. She's already posted her by the knee. Slowly takes her down and wraps her up. You know, you can't use any snake metaphors because immediately everybody thinks of Randy Orton, but she did have this boa constrictor type of mentality to her. Then gets her back up and hits her with a hard clothesline. Both women trade some shots. There's a super kick by Kai. Headbutt by Nox, some chops and some rolling lariats. Corner back elbow by Nox. 3 uppercuts in a row followed by a cannonball. And then you had Mauro Ranallo on commentary when she hit the cannonball. There she is with the cannonball, and she's trying to bore a hole through her opponent. And it's just like, Mauro Ranallo, I want to defend you because you're a kick-ass dude, and there's nobody else quite like you in the commentary booth, but bit cringe on that one. Bridging fallaway slam by Nox, a haluva kick by Kai. Chiropractor by Kai. I love that move. I'm glad she brought it back. Modified X Factor by Nox. A Shining Wizard misses, and Kai locks in her weird submission thing that I still don't think has a name. Headbutt by Nox, followed by a Molly go round and a proper Shining Wizard. Gets the win for Nox. So all the experts out there that said it had to be a heel, it's not a heel, is it? No, it's not a heel. No, it's Tegan Nox, which means somewhere along the way we're getting Tegan Nox versus Io Shirai, which doesn't hurt my feelings in the slightest. We got Damian Priest in the back calling out Grimes's weird behavior. He slashed my tires and he doesn't want to take credit for it. He gave me a blindside attack in the parking lot. He doesn't want to take credit for it. How about we step in the ring and I'll do something for you that will end in infamy? And then I didn't really care because they cut to another locker room and Sasha Banks and Bayley were jumping around being really cringy, because that's what they do now. To take me completely away from the cringy, unnecessary stuff like Sasha and Bayley, we have Timothy Thatcher versus Oni Lorcan. And immediately when I saw this announced, it sort of became the unsaid match that everybody was talking about, because Timothy Thatcher is terrifying. He basically, like, riddled Matt Riddle all the way out of NXT, and you know, Matt Riddle's dealing with other things from other political hashtag bullshit that we don't need to talk about, do we? But you've also got a tag team like Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. Words are hard. It's late in the day. Unfortunately, the first thing that I thought when I heard this is Timothy Thatcher versus Oni Lorcan was immediately, I wish it was Timothy Thatcher versus Danny Burch, because I'm an asshole. Because Danny Burch is just a little more intimidating to me a character than Oni Lorcan, which is shitty because they're a team and they are so similar. I didn't really appreciate what I was getting in that announcement, quite frankly, and it was only an announcement that was delivered on Twitter. But then again, our main event was announced on Twitter as well, so what can we say? Corner tackle by Lorcan, Thatcher works the arm, collar and elbow tie-up, side headlock, and a takedown by Lorcan. Bow and arrow by Thatcher, chops by Lorcan, and as he works the arm. Short arm key lock by Lorcan. I can speak, I swear. Indian Deathlock by Thatcher. Cross arm breaker by Thatcher. Open chops in the corner that just look like they wreck because Thatcher's a big dude. He's got a big old bear paw, so those chops looked like it was going through the chest. Wrist lock by Thatcher. Wrist lock head scissor combination by Thatcher. Surfboard stretch with a post. Corner chops and a back elbow. Uppercut out of the ring by Thatcher, followed by an arm drag. Head and key lock by Thatcher. Kneeling arm lock. Belly-to-belly suplex by Thatcher, which was really the belly-to-belly suplex surprised me in the match because up until this point, everything had been grappling and strikes. One throw changes the entire dynamic of the match. Half and half suplex by Lorcan because it's sort of anything you can do, I can do better. You want to throw me, I can throw you. And then they get back into what I was saying before with the grappling and the striking. It's like, okay, we each got to throw in. Let's get back to the actual brawl. Chops by Lorcan, a series of uppercuts and shots. A single leg crab by Lorcan that's reversed by Thatcher. More chops by Lorcan. Butterfly suplex by Thatcher because we need to get one more in. Armbar by Thatcher, and it's an ugly, ugly armbar that looked like it was driving the ball of his shoulder right into the mat. And just to prove that he's a bad guy, once he gets the obvious submission win, he just doesn't let go for like another 5 seconds, and the referee freaks out. Oh my God, what a bad guy he is. Lorcan does an A+ Oscar-winning job of selling his arm because he twists his arm in such a way while he's holding it. Because, you walk away from something, you hold your shoulder, you hold your elbow, whatever. But he manages to hold his arm in such a way that it looks like it's actually been taken apart a little bit. So Lorcan was there. Lorcan was the sacrificial lamb in this match, was he not? You never thought he was going to win it because Timothy Thatcher is obviously the guy that they've got the rocket strapped to right now. You might be asking in the past couple of weeks why I haven't said much about the little mini segments that he's been doing, the Thatch Can training center seminar things, where he's basically just explaining what submission moves do. Because I get it, I get the point. We're supposed to look at him and we're supposed to see how he sort of likes mistreating his students and all that sort of thing. But what I don't like about it, and I don't hold this against Tim, I just think it's a bad choice on NXT's part, is it's really being condescending to the audience and saying, hey, you guys have been watching wrestling this long, but you don't know what these submissions are. We should spoon feed to you what they are. I mean, I don't need to know why an armbar hurts. Like, there's an analytical thing to that, and here's where I will begrudgingly throw a little bit of credit towards AEW because they've got Taz doing a similar thing, but he's doing it from a commentary point of view. He's watching a match and then he's sort of like pausing it and saying, hey, see here, look what this guy's doing over here, and see how he holds that joint in a certain way and whatever. For some reason, and maybe it's just because I like Taz and I've been listening to the Taz show and I liked him when he was a wrestler, I like him as a commentator, and I don't necessarily have as much familiarity with Thatcher. But I think what he's doing, the Taz explains whatever, now it's becoming a little bit self-serving because he's mostly talking about his guy now. Wasn't Path of Cage or whatever the hell, the guy that's gonna maybe face Dean Ambrose if Dean Ambrose doesn't have COVID. Moving on. But the way he does it and the way they do that on AEW is a little bit more effective than this, because this comes off condescending to the audience, and it's sort of, here's a guy that likes, if you look at it from a story level, it's, here's this guy that's so mean he likes mistreating his students, which cuts a little close to reality when you hear about all the current accusations that are going on. And if you want to talk about it from a literal writing point of view, it's really fucking condescending to your audience. So it doesn't work for me. I like Thatcher. I like watching him do what he does in the ring. He comes off like a force. I think the way that they introduced him as a comedy character to make everybody say, what the fuck, this guy's a killer, why can't we see him be a killer, and then let him be a killer, was a cool way of introducing him. I mean, I don't know what led to the Riddle stuff, and with Pete Dunne stuck on the other side of the world, that left him in a really weird spot. But the segments, the Thatch Can, which is a really lame pun, by the way, I won't be talking about those unless they change, because I don't agree with them on multiple levels. There's a highlight package for Karrion Kross, which is fine. Then we get Rhea Ripley versus Aaliyah and Robert Stone, and this was This is what I'm going to point to when everybody says, oh, well, you know, NXT doesn't know how to have any fun and Rhea Ripley's being ruined and rah. Rhea Ripley, they could pop back into the women's title picture at any given time, but right now, they know she's a fucking star, and they want to raise a couple other people's stocks, like the 4 women that were in the beginning of this show, and they want to let SHIRAI have her time in the sun, and they want to do all kinds of things like that. So to keep Rhea Ripley on TV just destroying people that are so far beneath her and letting her show a little bit of a sadistic side while being a bit comical doing it, I think it serves all the masters, because other people that need spotlight are getting it. She's still staying on the show, and there's always that moment in the show where she zooms in on somebody and the audience as a whole can be like, well, you're about to die. Like what happened here. Robert Stone comes out in a boxer's like fighting jacket. He's got the boxer shorts on. They made a lot of comparisons to Rocky Balboa on commentary. He puts in the mouthpiece, being all seriousness. He gets the hell chopped out of his chest by Rhea Ripley to start the match, but that leaves it open for a backpack sleeper by Aaliyah and a head scissor. A corner knee strike by Aaliyah, only hit because Robert was holding onto her ankle in the corner. Electric chair facebuster by Rhea. Stone misses a suicide dive, which is great. He's making himself a ragdoll to make the comedy work, and I can't help but, as I've said for weeks now, I can't help but remember that he was an actual wrestler in TNA. And I'm not going to say Robbie E set the world on fire in TNA, but he was an actual wrestler. He was actually doing things, and now he's got to, I think, downplay himself to the level of, oh, I'm a manager trying to wrestle. It's like, he's not, I hate to say it like this because he's passed on, rest in peace and all that sort of thing, but it's not like when Paul Bearer was terrified because he got stuck in a tag match with Kane against Undertaker and Mankind or something like that. Like, the guy can wrestle, and they stuck him in goofy boxer shorts to I guess hide him from the fact that, like, he looks like a wrestler. He looks like he could get some shit done, but really he's there to get the shit kicked out of him by Rhea Ripley. There's a top rope facebuster to the floor by Aaliyah, big boot by Aaliyah, and she knocks Stone off the apron, which is fine. A German suplex to Aaliyah, and then a chop block by Aaliyah. When she can't quite get to her feet, she just sort of lashes out at the much bigger Rhea Ripley, which is fine. Fez press by Aaliyah, some mounted punches, and a double team with Robert Stone. A double face lock crab submission. This is one of the few commercials we had in the entire night, because they did have, because it was the Great Canadian Bash, they did have limited commercials sponsored by Mountain Dew. And if you didn't know that they had limited commercial breaks sponsored by Mountain Dew, they were very happy to tell you that they had limited commercial breaks sponsored by Mountain Dew. But one of the few commercial breaks that there was, we came back, and Rhea Ripley was stuck in a double submission move. It was one of them had a crab on her and one of them had a face lock on her. I think Aaliyah had her in sort of a modified crossface, and Robert Stone had her in the crab, and it was just really, really bad. They hit her with a double suplex, and then she, because they fought over who would get the pin, she took advantage. They went to do a double suplex again, except she double suplexed them, and then back body dropped both of them. And then Ripley threw Aaliyah into Stone in the corner, which was great. He did the whole comedic slump in the corner, and then she picked up Aaliyah and face first slammed her into his crotch, because why not? Picks them both up. This was actually really cool. And if this had not been a comedy match, if this was Rhea Ripley stuck in an actual handicap match against two women from the division, this would have been a cooler spot, but it was still a cool spot nonetheless. She put in, and I know they call it something else, I really don't care, it's a standing figure four. She put both of them in the standing figure four and basically stood like this with one of them hanging off of each arm, and got the obvious submission win. Now, as I said, I've got a fantasy booking coming up this Friday after SmackDown, 10 o'clock. Come to YouTube right after SmackDown is over. And in that fantasy booking, we include a lot of people in the destruction of Sasha Banks and Bayley. Two of those people are Aaliyah and Rhea Ripley. For that fantasy booking, this match went a very different way. That's all I'm going to say. Because we've got, I'll give you guys a little hint. The fantasy booking I've got coming up this weekend, I managed to use pretty much all of the SmackDown roster, all of the NXT roster, some of the Raw roster. I managed to incorporate Extreme Rules, SummerSlam, and obviously the Evolution 2 pay-per-view that I created. I managed to include all the titles and a bunch of current scenarios that are actually happening in WWE right now. I had a lot of fun with this. It's going to piss off some people, but just keep in mind that I was doing it for fun, and it is just for fun, and it's just pro wrestling at the end of the day. Yeah. After SmackDown on Friday, come check that out. It's good. But again, when we talk about like what's in date, what's out of date, and what jives with what's currently going on and what's not, please remember that I wrote it up last Thursday and I recorded it last Friday and set it to play this Friday. So if you come at me with anything even remotely resembling, well, that's not true anymore. Didn't you see what happened on NXT this week? You know, Rhea Ripley won, so your thing doesn't work anymore. Please, it's for fun. I know there's people out there that are going to do that. It's fine, but know that I'm going to laugh and roll my eyes, and in the chat, some other people are probably going to laugh and roll your eyes at you as well. Speaking of having fun, Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis in a strap match. Roderick Strong was not having fun. We had a little video package before this that sort of mocked what he had been saying to his therapist all the way along, how he's not scared of Dexter Lumis, and he's not scared of the trunk anymore, and he's not scared of the Dexter Lumis, and he's not scared of the trunk anymore. And this was the crowd, and I hesitate to mention the crowd because the crowd is obviously a fictional, fabricated crowd with NXT trainees in it. Before the match even started, you can't start a strap match without both people being attached to either ends of the strap. It's like the cowbell match. It's like the dog chain match. It's like the bull rope match. It's like any of those matches. So they put the strap around Dexter Lumis's wrist, and then when Roddy Strong doesn't want to get locked into his, the entire crowd starts chanting "Strap on Roddy." Do with that what you will. Strong gets a cheap shot in on Lumis before he gets strapped in. I can't say it any other way. Series of knockdowns by Lumis. Lumis uses the strap to pull him into a strong uppercut, and then he throws him into the apron, and then he throws him outside the ring, and then with the strap he pulls him back into the apron. So he kind of awkwardly hits it, because he sort of hits it with his side, sort of hits it with his hip and his leg. I don't think that was supposed to go that way, if I'm completely honest. There's a huge toss by Lumis, who hits him with a couple boots and a couple mudhole stomps. Knee strikes and chops by Strong, body shots by Lumis, running knee strike by Strong in a corner 10 punch wrapped with the strap, because I don't know whether that makes it better or worse. If it was a chain, here's something that I'm going to pick apart here. Spots in matches like this. If it was a chain, I could see the point of wrapping your hand in a chain, because it would sort of act like brass knuckles. The wrapping it in a leather strap, which doesn't look that stiff, I know that really doesn't matter. I don't know whether that would have any more or less effect than just wrapping your fists before a match, like when they do with the sports tape. I don't know what that's supposed to do. If they made some kind of point to tell you that it was like a thicker, stiffer leather and you were getting them with the edges and it was going to cut the skin or whatever, fine. But I don't think hitting them with the flat bit of the leather, I don't think that makes a difference. I know it's a wrestling trope that as soon as you wrap your hand in anything, immediately something becomes stronger. It's like the fucking Infinity Gauntlet. But it doesn't naturally make sense, does it? Forearm shots on the floor by Lumis. He pulls Strong into the steps. There's a whole lot of like him just using the strap to treat Roddy Strong like a top. They fight up the rampway. He gets tossed into the LED board, and he goes up to one of the cars on the stage, opens up the trunk, and Roderick Strong, goes into fight or flight mode, starts booting him. They make their way back down to the ring. Series of boots by Strong and an angle slam on the floor in the ring. Strong whips Lumic in the back. He finally realizes that he's got the strap as a weapon, other than wrapping his hand, which does nothing. He actually starts whipping Lumis in the back with the excess amount of strap. Also, it's got to be really, really awkward when you're in a match like this, because it's not like they're handcuffed together like actual handcuffs. It's a long piece of strap, and they have to make sure that the strap is not where it's supposed to be, or not where it's not supposed to be, while they're trying to pull off all these spots. I'm never going to be a wrestler. Let's be honest about that. But I would never want to be in a match like this. It seems too cumbersome. It seems too awkward to do anything that actually looks cool. Back in the ring, Strong whips Lumis in the back again. There's some mounted punches and a drop kick, and I go to the next page. Kicks to the head by Strong. Strong back elbows and a rear naked choke. Body shots by Lumis and a high knee by Strong. More whipping. And as he's whipping Lumis, again, the crowd. I gotta question the crowd a little bit, because as he's whipping Dexter Lumis with the belt strap or whatever, the crowd starts chanting, "Dexter likes it." Again, all I can say to that is do with that what you will. There's a lariat by Lumis. Lumis whips Strong back. It's sort of the lame version of my anything you can do, I can do better, but that's fine. Loomis rakes the eyes, and there's a facebuster on the apron, but there's a cheap shot by Bobby Fish, who's all of a sudden at ringside. For reasons, both men trade some more strikes. Bobby Fish tries to run into the ring and run interference, but the two guys are on such opposite ends of the ring that he ends up clotheslining himself on the strap. The distraction distracts Strong long enough to get that side slam weird submission thing. I think they said that submission is called the silence. It's I don't know. It's fine. See, you didn't have to add extra stuff to this. You could have just had a match. I mean, I know we've had a lot of cage-ish matches recently, but you could have had this as a cage match if you wanted to hit up the whole, oh, Roddy can't escape thing. The strap match is awkward. You didn't need the comedy bits, you didn't need comedy from the crowd, and you didn't need the Fish run in just to get clotheslined by the strap. I think they put too much. It did make me laugh a bunch of times, and Dexter Loomis is still terrifying, and Roddy Strong is still playing Final Girl in his own horror movie, and that all works. But I think they put too much in on top of that, if that makes sense. If they had just let this match breathe a little bit, or put them in some sort of cage thing where he couldn't escape the cage, rather than he was actually tied to his opponent, you could have had at least twice as good a match, and this would have been a match suitable for an actual takeover. Now that's something I want to address as well. People on Twitter are like, oh, they're trying to sell this as a takeover. It's like, no, they're trying to sell this as a themed episode of NXT. As much as I take the piss out of AEW for doing the exact same thing for Fyter Fest, I have to repeat, I do have some sympathy for AEW. They were not able to do the UK pay-per-view they thought they were going to be able to do. The UK fans were supposed to get an actual Fyter Fest. They didn't get it. That sucks. It sucks for the UK. It sucks for AEW. But what they've done is they've rendered 2 episodes of Dynamite that have a different name, and they've put a little bit of extra into those shows, and that's fine. It's the same here. It's the same here in the sense that I'm calling it, Great American Bash. I'm having a little bit of fun by calling it the Great Canadian Bash because it's Canada Day and all that sort of thing. And that's all fine and well and good. But if you were tuning in this Wednesday and you were measuring this against an actual takeover, then you're an idiot. If you tune in to Dynamite tonight, and I haven't seen Dynamite yet, to be fair, if you tuned into Dynamite and you were measuring that against All In or All Out or Revolution or whatever, then you're also an idiot. Like, I'll be fair in that regard. But this was a really, really good themed show. I had a speech a little while ago on here about when they announced NXT TakeOver in Your House. I really thought that they should establish a B level of pay-per-views. Because I think the TakeOver name at this point has such sort of reverence around it. There is a certain thought as to what a TakeOver is. And you had a whole bunch of different stuff that happened at In Your House. So that necessitates a B pay-per-view. Now, one step down from a B pay-per-view would be an A-plus show. And I think an A-plus show fits into that, like, what they're doing tonight, or what they think they're doing when they do, like, the 100 billionth anniversary Raw, or anything like that. This, for all intents and purposes, was a themed episode of NXT. If you were comparing, like, I'm going to keep saying it because it keeps being true. If you were measuring this on the scale of a proper takeover, like if you were taking this and measuring it against, like, TakeOver Brooklyn 3, you're an idiot. Like, that's all I can say. All the critics that say this is just an episode of NXT with a new coat of paint, this is an episode of Dynamite with a new coat of paint, as much as those guys are saying that to be dicks, they're not exactly wrong. So keep that in mind when you're measuring this show. Now, the limited commercial interruption was great. The main roster interaction, if it wasn't Sasha Banks, would be great. It's fine. We see a great... I'm going to get off that now because people are just going to get pissed off because I'm telling the truth about Sasha Banks. Oh, yes. Anyways, we get into this really, really well done, like, dual sit-down interview with Keith Lee and Adam Cole, hyping the package for next week. They each sort of begrudgingly give each other credit. They kind of have to because they're both champions, and talk about what it means to them for next week. It's fine. WWE, I say this all the time, is great with video packages, but I don't think I feel the need to just come up here and say, again, hey, WWE's great with video packages because they're always great with video packages. Adam Cole has charisma for days, and Keith Lee, not to the same level as Adam Cole, but has charisma for days. So you got 2 back-to-back interviews with these guys, and they're sort of interspersed within each other. It's going to be good. Gargano and LeRae are in the back after the match talking about how the Fatal 4-Way was unfair because it wasn't a Fatal 4-Way, it was a 3-on-1, and, you know, Gargano goes on to say, you know, my wife is wonderful, everybody's jealous of my wife, she's great, and I love her, and everybody else is scared of her. Meanwhile, she's running off, and she goes off camera, and she's like, she's awesome, and then he goes to chase after his wife, and she's brawling with Mia Yim. And you would expect that if it's going to be the couples thing, it would be, you know, Mia Yim and, like, Keith Lee there to pull her off or whatever. But Keith Lee is thinking about his title match, so they just threw in Swerve instead. And there's a really, really dangerous interchangeable thing that happened there that I don't think NXT realizes that they did, so I'm going to leave it alone. Santos Escobar and company come out, and they just cut a promo about how the lucha culture used to mean something. Luchadors like me used to be icons. We used to be movie stars. We used to be big moral, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Mentors to the young and all that sort of thing. We used to be a big piece of this wrestling tradition, and now wrestling has turned us into a sideshow. We're just a bunch of flippy guys in masks, but we're going to show that we're more than masks. We're going to rebuild Lucha Libre in my image. We're going to rebuild Lucha Libre in our image. I'm going to... I was really trying to keep that from happening. We're going to rebuild Lucha Libre in my image. The 3 of us are going to rebuild Lucha Libre in our image. And what is it? Legado del Fantasma is the name of their faction. I don't pronounce that properly. That's why normally I'm just going to say Escobar and company. Drake Maverick comes in a neck brace, runs the ring, gets beat down 3-on-1, gets saved by Breezango of all people, who are not in typical flagrant Breezango gear. They're just out there. Everybody out there in this segment was just dressed in black. Everybody. They were all kind of interchangeable looking, but Fandango grabs the mic, he calls his shot, he challenges El whatever de Fantasma to a 6-man tag next week. It gets confirmed later on in the night, and we move on. Grimes is in the back getting questioned about the challenge from Damian Priest, and he sort of waves off the question and talks about how he's living the time of his life and it's grime time and all that sort of thing. He's looking forward to next week, and he's letting Adam Cole and Keith Lee know that he's the next one in line because he's decided he's the #1 contender. There's nothing else to say there, is there? Now we get to our main event. Non-title match. And I will say, I'm gonna take the sarcasm off a little bit. Sasha Banks, for all I don't like her and for all I think she's a cancer on the business, she's not a bad wrestler. This was not a bad match. Sasha comes down to the ring in a car, and they've got a dog with her, which means, much like Cody Rhodes, she doesn't care about animal well-being, because look what happened to Cody's dog at the pay-per-view. We didn't learn anything from that, did we? No, we didn't. She comes down in the car, and Bayley's with her, and they're just... I know there's defenders out there. There's the Sasha stans that are out there, the ones coming with pitchforks and torches for Sammy Guevara's career, which is not healthy and not cool, by the way. But they're gonna say, oh, if you hate them, they're doing their job, they're making it work. It's like, no, NXT is the one brand that's not full of shit right now. They're making me want to turn off the only brand left in wrestling that's not a bit shit. That's not a good thing. Anyways, so Io comes out, Sasha's out there. There's no big spotlight announcement thing because it's not a title match, which is fair enough. Collar and elbow tie up, and Banks works the arm. Io reverses. Banks misses in the corner. There's a top rope drop kick by Shirai, suicide dive by Shirai, a mudhole stomp, and a Hardiac arrest. I can read my writing, I swear. She did that old flip-up mule kick thing that the Hardys used to do. They used to call it the Hardiac arrest. I don't know what it's actually called, so that's what I'm going to call it, except for I couldn't read it in my writing. That's fine. Bayley slips up the rampway to one of the cars on the rampway and just starts honking the horn as a ring distraction. Now, it works, obviously, because it has to work for the function of the match, but stupid shit like that makes the holder of the most prestigious women's title in WWE look like an idiot, and you don't want to do that. The Raw title doesn't mean much. Asuka's trying, but it still doesn't mean much. The SmackDown title is on Bayley. Enough said. The tag titles are on Bayley and Sasha. Enough said. The title, the women's title in WWE that actually means anything is the NXT Women's Championship. So please don't make the NXT Women's Champion look dumb by honking your horn at her. That's fucking stupid. That's main event shit ruining NXT, and that's also the cringe level of Bayley and Sasha ruining NXT. Moving on. Knee strikes by Io and a bitch slap and a top rope on a series of shoulder tackles by Io, a 619 and another drop kick. German suplex by Io and a crossface by Banks because I guess she has to do something. There's a pinning reversal sequence and a double foot stomp by Shirai, double knees in the corner by Io and a tree of woe by Banks. Banks misses the Meteora and then they all kind of reshuffle around and then she finally hits one. Eventually they trade some shots on the apron and there is a power bomb. And I'm not saying that this is Sasha Banks' fault, but I'm not saying it's not her fault. She power bombed Io Shirai out of the ring into the plexiglass, which was nasty looking enough because the plexiglass, the way they've got it set up, doesn't really look secure. But then she just kind of dropped her. Now, she's fine, obviously, because she finished the match and whatever, and it could be me. It could be me seeing something that's not there. It could be that the camera angle that they initially shot it at was really shit. But the powerbomb looked fine. The way she dropped her out of the powerbomb looked really, really reckless. I'm just saying. The crowd pipes up using some of Bianca Belair's bullshit against Sasha Banks, which just made me smile because that shit kind of comes full circle, doesn't it? They start chanting, "You don't go here." Io then puts the Banks statement on Sasha Banks. We're going to get a trifecta of really cool things right now. Io puts Sasha Banks in the Banks statement. Bayley, who I wasn't even really paying attention to, does some stupid distraction nonsense with the belt. I don't even know what she was trying to do, but obviously all referees are dumb, so there's a belt in the ring. Oh my god, what a distraction. But out of nowhere at the corner of the ring pops Asuka with the mist, so Banks is just meh because of the mist. Io takes that moment to take out Bayley on the outside just to ensure a good finish to the match, hits the proper Io Shirai touching the sky moonsault, and gets the clean as you wanna be victory over the NXT legend Sasha Banks. That makes me smile a whole bunch because a bunch of things happened there. Banks had her own move used against her, which was awesome. The numbers game was evened up by Asuka, which not only negated Bayley, but actually made sense if you're paying attention to what's going on Raw. It built a little more into the match coming up at Extreme Rules, and it got us to the right result. Oh yes, it got us to the right result. Now, I don't know because I haven't confirmed this and I haven't checked Twitter since the show went off the air, but I'm pretty sure that on night 2 of the Great American Bash, we're going to get Sasha and Bayley versus Io and Asuka. And that doesn't hurt my feelings at all. For a bunch of reasons, because I want to see them get their asses handed to them again. Because I'm pretty sure that WWE is going to cuck to the Sasha fans and give her that belt at Extreme Rules. So to see them get their asses handed to them by Io and Asuka before then will at least dull the pain a little bit. And also, Io and Asuka versus Sasha Banks and Bayley will really, really, really help the Wednesday Night War next week when we don't even know if AEW's champion is going to be there. Now, that I don't take any joy in saying that. I like Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, Jonathan Good, whatever you want to say. I hope to hell that he's not in any health issue and Renee Young isn't in any health issue. I take no pleasure in that. But if they don't have a title match next week, they're going up against a lot of stuff. They're going up against potentially that tag match that I just talked about. Also, before I start talking about next week, this is the only combination we haven't seen. Because we've seen Kairi Sane team with Asuka. We've seen Kairi Sane tag with Io Shirai. We've never seen Io Shirai and Asuka tag. And I'm hoping somewhere at some point on some brand, the three of them become a faction. Because it's just so obvious that when, like, if you follow social media, whatever, the three of them are just so happy for each other whenever one of them achieves something. It's so obvious that the three of them would be an awesome team, and all three of them can ride the line between babyface and heel. So if you have a faction of the three of them riding the line between face and heel who can fight absolutely anybody, that would be fucking amazing. So we've never seen At least in WWE. I'm sure they've done some stuff together in Japan that I don't know about because I don't follow New Japan or All Japan or Stardom or whatever the hell they fought in. So first time ever Io and Asuka teaming up. First time ever that the NXT Women's Champion and the Raw Women's Champion are a tag team. That could be something for the marquee. You could throw the tag team titles in there just to spice up the pot. And it would be a really good addition to what we already have for night 2 of the Great American Bash, which I guess I'll actually be able to call the Great American Bash because it won't be Canada Day on July 8th. So I'm guessing we're getting that tag team match. I haven't read that anywhere. Nothing has been said. I'm totally speculating, but something based on that next week. We also know that we don't know who she's facing, but we are getting the NXT debut of Mercedes Martinez, which isn't exactly true because she was in a bunch of exhibition matches on NXT around the time of the Mae Young Classic. So that's a bit of a lie, but we're treating this like her proper debut. That's really, really cool. We got Maverick and Breezango versus Escobar and company. We got Yim versus LeRae in a street fight, which will be fucking awesome. And you've got, in the main event, Adam Cole, Bebe, taking on Keith Lee, winner take all for the NXT and North American Championships. So, with respect, with concern, with all my humanity intact, I hope that Jon Moxley and Renee Young are okay. I hope that they are okay enough that he can be in the match next week that is advertised against, Path of Cage, whatever dude that's with Taz. But if for whatever reason AEW can't follow through on that match, they are in a lot of trouble next week. And I'm not even saying that to laugh at them at this point, because the second half of the Great American Bash has a lot less announced for it. Like this week had 5 matches announced, but the first match that was announced, or the first match that came out on tonight's card, was the elimination match. And an elimination match, by its very nature, is going to take a long time. I think it took up the first 35 minutes of the show. There's nothing in this right now that looks like it's going to take up 35 minutes unless they let the main event go that long. But I don't know what their commercial situation is going to be next week and whatever. So we might have a couple extra surprises. Finn Balor was tweeting a lot about the Great American Bash, and he wasn't on the show tonight, and neither was Karrion Kross. So those two have got to factor into something. If we get Balor versus Kross, that's fine and wonderful. Balor versus Kross, unannounced, just happening on the show next week as like the opening contest. Just because, hey, if you didn't tune into our show, go fuck yourself, would be a great. It would be sort of skeevy, but it would be a great ratings ploy going forward. Hey, don't just take what we've announced. You could have some surprises that you miss. I don't know. We're in a very weird time in the next 2 weeks. We've got 2 pay-per-views that aren't really pay-per-views going up against each other, but they are loaded shows. They are a lot of fun. I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to immediately flip over and check out Fyter Fest and see how that was, because there is some stuff on there that I'm actually interested in. I can promise you right now that one of the matches I'm not interested in is Jack Swagger versus Goldust for the Incomplete Championship. But there's some other good stuff on there. There's MJF and the Dinosaur, and I think the Alien is on there somewhere, and Nyla Rose is gonna do something. Yay. Anyways, I'm gonna go check that out. I'm gonna leave this video right here. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging in. Join me Friday. Bye.